to improve by the players, but I don't think City are the City that we have been seeing in the past 5 years. There's something about them that tells me that City will drop points. It's just a matter of, is Liverpool ready? Is Arsenal ready to grab the opportunity when it comes? And we'll hope and see, or wait and see what happens from that. Let's talk about Odegaard. Chaba, you mentioned him earlier on. Odegaard ran this show today, first half, really well. Then second half, I think he had a knock in the first half. Second half, he got tired out. I don't know if you were here, but no, I'm sure this was here. I mentioned it. If there's one player that Arsenal cannot afford to get injured, it's Odegaard. I said this 3 weeks ago. They have to find a way to make sure that he stays fresh. Today, second half, he kind of disappeared and ultimately was substituted, and that was it for Arsenal. How does Arsenal, survive without Odegaard? Anybody can react.
I really don't know how. I mean, when you think of a like-for-like replacement, the closest person is Smith Rowe. And I was actually thinking, right, when that second goal happened, I was like, if that was Odegaard, would he have been able to prevent Watkins from playing that? I mean, it was a beautiful chip, let's be real. But I think taking Odegaard off, I know it's a big risk when he has that knock to his chest and you want to make sure he's okay. But I think taking Odegaard off more than leaving Zinchenko on was actually our demise per se, because he is that anchor in the entire field. He's that person that, I mean, you saw against Bayern Munich, he was the last person to track back, stop Leroy Sané, right? And I think Smith Rowe doesn't have that, I guess, as heavy pressing mentality as Odegaard does. So that's the one thing I was thinking, damn, like if Odegaard was in for Smith Rowe. And also that goal was just gut wrenching, man. I mean, especially when you think, it reminded me a lot of how Bayern scored their first goal on us. We kind of just had nobody in the back per se. I know it was coming off of a counter, right? But why is Smith Rowe the last man? That really brought a huge question mark to my head. And that's why I said I think it was more of a tactical battle, and it was fought between the two in the first half, and I think Aston Villa kind of ran away with it in the second half. There are glimmers of, I think they might take this in my head, and I didn't want to think it. And then when that first goal came in, I was like, okay, let's see how we react. And it was a quick fire second goal, so by then it was game done and dusted.
Okay, normally the way Arsenal would, like what I just mentioned, why was he throw the last person defensively? Normally, when you do that, get your goal, and probably maybe somehow win, they said, yeah, that's Champions mentality. Arsenal refused to lose the game. They put pressure on Aston Villa and won the game. On a balance, on the high side, do you think normally when you get that position, should the reverse be the case? Should there still be a kind of thought that, hey, we are one goal down. If we don't score from this kind of game, we still have time to probably equalize that, to expose yourself that way, and leave the pro all the way by himself at the back.
Yeah, the way that I watch the game, I liken football a lot to real life and the challenges we face, even at the workspace, right? Workspace. When these footballers are still human beings, this Arsenal team is overreaching at this point, actually overachieving at this point. There's a curve that you have to go through to get to the top, typically and usually, especially for the EPL. If you're lucky, some teams get lucky, they don't go through that curve, they get to that top, but you see that when they get to that top, they never last, right? So I think that the teams that have lasted at the top had gone through a curve where they got to that point and knew how to have that staying power, knew how to manage themselves in certain situations to be able to win games and get ahead. After this game today, I'm sure that this team would learn a massive lesson. If they find themselves in this kind of situation again, anytime in the future, there will be a bit more perspective. They played for a draw, not necessarily played for a draw, but a draw was a great point at City. They knew, let's not just lose this game against City. We couldn't afford to lose it. And they did all they could to make sure we didn't. And this same game today against Villa should have been the same theme. Do not lose this game for anything, even if you don't win it. Right? Mm-hmm. So this is where that curve comes in. Something at the back of their young minds told them, City, of course, were a superior team that we had to make sure they didn't score. Villa are supposed to be a slightly inferior team that if we put pressure on them, we can score and win. That was what they had at the back of their minds. And so everybody moved forward because they felt they could overrun Villa and score. And what happened? Villa hit them with two sucker punches within a couple of minutes. So that's life. You have to learn these lessons to get to the top, so that when you get to the top, you use that experience to stay at the top. So I mean, that's how I see this game today.
Yeah, talking about learning lessons. I'm with you on that one. I was listening to Arteta after the game. I was listening to Declan Rice. He spoke as well. I also watched the players' body language. It looked like the team has grown from where they were last season. Normally, when this happened last season, you could see their heads down. They barely could leave the pitch. You could see that was it for us. But today, I see a different kind of body language. Even Arteta himself, as disappointed as he looked, you could see that he is taking it. Because I listened to Klopp as well. When they lost today, Klopp, yes, he could see he was disappointed, but he said something. He said, well, it has happened. There's nothing we're going to do about it. All we have to do now is to make sure we are within the corridor, so that if anything happens above us, we take the opportunity. That's exactly what Arteta said today too. And the Rice almost spoke the same way. He said, well, that we didn't want to lose this game at worst. Don't lose the game. But I mean, it has happened. We still have 6 games to play. Anything can still happen in football. We'll keep pushing. So that's for me, like you mentioned, that's what I saw today after the game. The team has progressed from where they were last season, and they probably will bounce back. But now it's just that you're playing and you're hosting against a juggernaut in Manchester City, who, for me, people say it, but I still believe they are humans. They can't keep doing, they're not machines that do the same thing every season. This season, we have seen a Man City that is not as the Man City we used to see. So they can still lose games, they can still draw games, they can draw 2 games. But Arsenal has to find a way to make sure that this doesn't happen again for the end of the season. So if anything happens ahead of them, they grab the opportunity and still win the league. So having said that, does anybody feel that City might still not win the league?
As possible as that sounds, it's not very realistic. It sounds possible, but for me, it's not very realistic at this point because, again, we're running out of games to actually, lay claim to that position. And this is the business end of the season. You don't give up games like this and hope. Theoretically, yes, it can happen, but do I see it happening realistically? No. City will find ways to grind out games. It's no longer in our hands. The results is no longer in our hands. So again, it's the hope that kills. It's the hope that kills, that you hope that somebody's going to drop points at this rate. Honestly, like Ogum said very correctly, that we're overreaching. We really are at this point. Regardless of how the season ends, I dare to dream as I would, but I still won't be so disappointed as I was last year, because again, I'm coming to terms with that reality. This is a seasoned team in City that they've been here a couple of times. Even when they had that neck and neck with Manchester United, they went with them till the end of the season. Can we do that kind of stuff now? Can City choke? Yeah, but I don't trust us to go the extra mile after what I've seen today. I wouldn't put my neck out. I would hope so, But I wouldn't put my neck out and say, if City might just drop points, this is a absolute opportunity to hold up with.
Let me punch you one. Like as fans, like what we're analyzing here, we expect the players to still keep their head high, and like Ugum was not even I spoke. I still believe. So why are we fans not believing? Why are we not saying yes, we can still do it? Because this is a difference between an Arsenal fan base, Man City fan base, and Liverpool fan base. If you go and look, maybe sample Liverpool fan base today, they're not going to do that. They still think that the team can still do it. So what can the Arsenal fans say? Hey, we know that City is there, but just keep your head high, keep pushing. And
again, this is not the fan in me talking. This is more so the football lover in me talking. Seeing what, or being realistic with what's on ground. Would I love for us to do it? Absolutely, yes. But the truth is, again, these kind of situations, these guys have been seasoned. These guys know what they're doing. Like we did not do ourselves any justice today. Again, we're running out of games. We got 6 games to go, right? The running is a very, very tight one. We have 6 games to go. Again, I do hope so, right? A bit of my hopes are going into the Champions League right now. Like maybe we should just pour everything in there because again, you know what I'm saying? Like this, it's a difficult because again, the Champions League is one. If you play well in a competition format, you just might go ahead and win the whole thing. You never know, So again, that's kind of like where I am as a realistic fan, turning my mind and my hopes somewhere else. So I don't wait until the end of the season before I say, you know what.
Yeah, well, you need to up your hope. Ugum, let me ask you. I saw you nodding. I know you want to say something, but just add to it. Like what Omezi is saying right there about 2 weeks ago. It wasn't in Arsenal's hands. It was in City's hands or Liverpool. 2 weeks ago, just 2 games. It swung to Arsenal's hands. So why would somebody not believe that? Like when I used to say that things change quickly in football. You can see 2 weeks ago, City didn't win their game. They drew, I think, and the team swung in favor of Arsenal. So what makes anybody feel that the next 2 weeks, Arsenal will not be in top of the league or Liverpool will not be top of the league?
Yeah, so, as a realistic fan, quoting Omis, my man, I believe Arsenal have a chance. In fact, I believe Arsenal will win the league. See why I believe it, because Arsenal have put in a body of work. I'm looking at the body of work over the last 9 or 10 months or so in the league. When you've paid your dues, more often than not, you get rewarded. Sometimes you don't get rewarded with the ultimate goal when you deserve it, but ultimately, at a point, you will get rewarded. This team has worked. They are scoring first on almost all the indices. Goals conceded, chances allowed, chances created, goals scored. When you've covered all the indices, goal difference, and you've worked enough and put in a body of work, you will get rewarded at some point. So I see this game today as a learning experience. These things happen, but I'm not. Yes, City, of course, have the history. That. Everybody believes that City will not drop a point. Personally, more often than not, they will not drop a point, but I think they will drop points.
I believe so.
I believe so.
I believe they'll drop a point.
I think that as far as they are mortals, like Reggie was saying earlier, anything can still happen in these 6 games left.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, history doesn't tell us that for the past 2 or 3 seasons, but I believe it's possible.
Exactly. That's what I want to hear, because when people keep saying it's City, they never got at this point. They're not machines. They're not programmed. They're human beings. And if you see the City that we're seeing this season have been conceding goals, just like Liverpool was getting away with some stuff the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. Today, it got with them. Arsenal has never trailed since 2024. They have never gone behind. They always score first and they win games. Today, they went behind and they did not win. City have been conceding goals. but somehow they come back and they win. So at some point, like we mentioned, let's believe that probably it will stick it up with them. Somebody will score them, and they won't be able to come back. So that's why. But let's not, say just stay only on the Arsenal. This game was played between Arsenal and Aston Villa. Shaba, has Unai Emery, shown the blueprint on how to play Arsenal, or is it just that his team has a unique quality that keepers like Emi Martinez, they don't have them in other teams? Only Watkins was limited today. Do you think he has shown how to play Arsenal, or was it just one game wonder?
I think I would actually. I mean, they're the only team to do the double on us this season. They beat us away, they beat us at home, which to me was an even bigger statement. I don't know if it's necessarily a blueprint, but he's shown that Arsenal do have a weakness, right? And as far as, this being our first loss of 2024, all good things must come to an end unless you're Xabi Alonso and Bayer Leverkusen, But I do still think Arsenal still have a good chance of winning the league. Like you said, anything can happen. But coming back to Aston Villa's performance, I think that they had a plan in mind and they stuck to it phenomenally. They didn't waver from it, no matter what the substitutions were made. There were cracks in the seal in the first half, having those two opportunities hit the post. So there was always a chance for Aston Villa to kind of get ahead. And I think Unai Emery, more than anybody, knows the Arsenal spirit, the backbone. He knows the Emirates. He knows that atmosphere. So if there's anybody in this league who I, just looking on paper, could have beaten Arsenal and did, is Unai Emery and Aston Villa. And I think Zaniolo put in a phenomenal shift today for Villa. He really was a pillar in the midfield. Ollie Watkins, I feel like he kind of had a relatively quiet game until that clinical finish. But that's the thing, when you think about the best strikers in the world, they're the ones that all they need is one opportunity to finish and they won't miss.
Yeah, and he's 18 goals behind. He won't go behind Erling Haaland for the goal.
19 goals actually.
Yeah, he's been.
I think he's the MVP of the season.
The game as well, how he has improved, how Emi Martinez has helped him being a very good goalkeeper. So in training, he finds it difficult to finish. So he has to really almost be perfect to score in training, and that has helped him into the game. Shaba, staying on Aston Villa, there is this guy, Diego Carlos, that for me, he was man of the match today. I don't know, as a Man U fan, seeing the way the shabby defending you have been seeing in your team, do you think he's a defender to look out for that should be playing for either of the big teams?
Not particularly. I mean, he played in Sevilla with Spain, in La Liga, and he came and this is his second or third season.
I think it's the first season.
No. I know he's been with Aston Villa for a while. I know. I remember.
Not the midfielder. They have
the defender. I believe he was injured when he first came. So
I think this is his second season. Yeah.
Right. I think it's second season. He was good. Was he fantastic? No.
I think he was.
You think so?
Yeah. For me, he was man of the match because the one that kept Aston Villa in this game for the first half. If not for him, I think Arsenal would have scored 2 or 3 goals in the first half.
I mean, he had his moments, but that's his job, right? Mm-hmm. If I was to make the team of these two, if I was speaking a starting 11, he wouldn't make my starting 11 for these two teams.
Definitely, of course, not above Gabriel Magalhaes and Saliba.
There you go, Saliba. There you go. So once again, this game, I hear you guys as Arsenal fans just focusing on the negatives, right? It was just a bad day at the office. Arsenal was not bad. Arsenal just
not at all.
Yeah, Arsenal just had bad luck, right? The first ball that Watkins had that hit the bar, it was off of a mistake by Gabriel where he hit a player and Watkins just happened to be there. The second one with Tielemans, it was a fantastic hit, but it wasn't like as if it was You know, it wasn't a true pass, an X and O combination to get an opportunity to take a shot on target. So Arsenal actually, in my opinion, were the ones that lost this game, because had they finished the chances they had in the beginning of the game, the morale would have been different in the camp of Aston Villa. Right? The longer it went, Aston Villa had more confidence. Exactly. You know, and like our gentleman here mentioned that Zaniolo had a fantastic game. He did. Zaniolo normally comes in as a substitute, and today he started. He must have been trying to make a point to Emery, to Unai, and he had a fantastic game. But I still think Arsenal was the better team today. Unfortunately, the better team didn't win. Now, what you guys should be focusing on is the positives. For the first time in donkey years, I actually saw Saka playing defense, and he played defense well today. Right? He tracked back, had some clearances that had he not done, it would probably have been a different narrative today. So that's what you guys should be looking at, right? Look at the fact that even though Arsenal was two goals down in the 80-something minutes, Arsenal were still looking for those true passes. Most other teams would have looked to just put the ball in the middle of the park, or put the ball towards the end of the opponent's field and hope for a header or hope for a ricochet to get a goal. But no, Arsenal still played, and that tells you that their identity has been instilled in them. And that's what you guys should be taking away from this game. There's still 6 games to go. Do I think Arsenal is going to go ahead and win it? Based off of past experience, I don't think so. But do I think Arsenal stands a chance? You're damn right I do. I think Arsenal does stand a very good chance of lifting the trophy this season.
Yeah, you get. I think we have all spoken well. Like Umezi mentioned earlier on, it's always easy on hindsight to talk about these things. What we're just looking at is how they would have been, and this is what I also know. Arteta is going to go back with his coaches to get these players, sit down, look at the game, and figure out some of these things we are saying here. Hey, if you had done this, if you had done that, if you had done this, this would have happened. So that's what we're doing here, trying to look at it from the hindsight and look at things that would have done differently. This is what they did last season, and this season they came out differently, and we're seeing the result. I believe that this season, somebody between Liverpool and Arsenal, one of them are going to win this league. I don't feel City is going to win this league. One of the reasons why I'm believing right now, in the past, City, yes, they were good, they were the best team in the league, but they came off or went away sometimes to bad officiating. I saw it against Arsenal, I saw it against some teams, but now officiating has gotten better. We have VAR now. There are some decisions you can't get away with anymore. They still have ways, places to improve by the players, but I don't think City are the City that we have been seeing in the past 5 years. There's something about them that tells me that City will drop points. It's just a matter of, is Liverpool ready? Is Arsenal ready to grab the opportunity when it comes? And we'll hope and see, wait and see what happens from that.